So I'm here in Southampton with Sue Atkins, who is standing for Southampton City Council in the Coxford ward. She's a member of Southampton's Socialist Party, standing on a platform against all cuts and privatisation in the city. So, Sue, could you tell us a little bit more about why you're standing in Southampton?
Right, well, Keith Morell is a councillor who's retired, and so that's caused a by-election. And I'm really following in Keith's tradition of fighting against all the cuts, saving 1,000 jobs that have been lost, arguing for £136 million that the Tory government has stolen from the city to get that money back so that we can restore our services. It's not just about being anti-austerity, but also saying that we need to restore the services that we've lost. The youth service, building of council homes, restoring the home care service, keeping our libraries open, you name it. There's been cuts across the board, and of course now schools are in a funding crisis, and they need their money back too.
So you mentioned that schools are in a funding crisis. I understand that on polling day there's actually going to be a strike in one of those schools against the cuts. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, well, Valentine Primary School is in the front line, well, as all schools are actually, but Valentine Primary have actually had a ballot for strike action, which received 100% support from the staff. They got support from their governors and the parents of the children and the children themselves. And they're striking tomorrow, the same day as the by-election. And I clearly fully support them. I'll be on the picket line. But unfortunately, the Labour Council has told them that they have just got to cut their budget, which would mean if they were to cut it in the way they've been told, they'd have no more staff than just the teachers. It's that serious.
So this is the same Labour Council, of course, which expelled Keith Morell, the retiring councillor, for standing up to the cuts it was passing on. And the Labour Council is saying that these cuts are coming from the Tory government in Westminster and there's nothing they could do. So what does the Socialist Party have to say about that?
Well, it's true. I think that we do have to make the starting point is, yes, that austerity cuts have been imposed on this council and councils up and down the country by the government. But then it's a question of what does the Labour Council do? And it's just not good enough to say that it's nothing that they can do. And in fact, the local electorate think that too, because over the previous years, Labour has been losing support each year because they've just handed on the Tory cuts. They've acted as the government's enforcer, and it's just not good enough. We cannot stand by and see our badly needed services being dismantled and destroyed when we're a wealthy nation, and also the council has got reserves, over £100 million in usable reserves. They could use prudential borrowing as well, and it would be they could actually in the short term keep our services going while building a mass campaign in our communities, which I believe would get enormous support to fight to get that money back from the government.
And that massive vote for strike action, and we hope a very well-attended picket line on Thursday, shows that if there is a lead given, trade unionists and communities and workers are willing to fight, I think. So that's a strategy which will resonate with many people. Could you tell us maybe a little bit more about the response that we've been getting on the doorsteps?
Yes, well, it's been very favourable. When we started the by-election campaign, we didn't know quite how it was going to go. But we've been getting a lot of positive support because I think it shows that Keith and his fellow councillors, Don and Tammy Thomas, have built deep roots within the community. So whereas in lots of wards people can't even name their councillor, here in Coxford people do know who they are, and they know their record of fighting to keep the local pool open, to fight for libraries, the bus services, and for council housing, and supporting our schools in their funding crisis. So we've been getting a very favourable response, but we're taking nothing for granted, and we're fighting to get every vote that we can tomorrow.
Thanks very much, Sue.